What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Raw review from January 17th, 1994 this time. Let's get right into it as we always do. Raw starts off like it has in the last couple of weeks with a recap of the 123 Kid, or not with the 123 Kid, but just a recap in general. This time of the 123 Kid and Marty Jannetty winning the tag belts from the Quebecers. Now, last week they said this rematch was taking place at Madison Square Garden on Raw, and they aren't at MSG for Raw, but Vince tells us that we will see the results from their match that took place already. You know what? I'll just leave what happens a little bit later. I could just say it now since I know, but I'll just save it for the end of the review. So we'll get back to that whole situation with the tag team championships a little bit later. The first match is Owen Hart taking on a jobber, and his brother comes down to ringside. He picks up the win with the sharpshooter. Owen gets interviewed after the match about who he wants to win the rematch, and he says that he would prefer the Quebecers so that he and Bret can get their rightful opportunity at the belts. But Bret Hart says that he would never cheer for the Quebecers, and that if 123 Kid and Marty won, he knows they'd give them a chance at the titles down the line somewhere. So they give us some explanation as to what will happen with that match, and if the Kid and Marty were to retain, the Hart brothers wouldn't get a title shot at the Rumble. Moving on, Tatanka picking up a win over a jobber. We then get a look at the WWF Women's Champion Alundra Blaze in a quick montage video, ending with her in a bikini shot, just looking towards the ocean, showing you exactly what they think of the women's division still back in 1994. Next, Yokozuna and Mr. Fuji come out for an interview in the ring with Vince McMahon, and after Vince mentions the word casket, Paul Bearer walks out with the double-sized, double-wide casket, and McMahon wants Yokozuna to take a closer look and asks him if he's scared. Vince really pushes them to get close to it, and eventually Yokozuna does get close to it, and he plans to squash the casket, so he goes to open it, and I don't really know how you were going to squash a casket by opening it. Like, what's the point of opening it? Just destroy it, you know what I mean? But Undertaker pops out of it and scares the crap out of the champ and sends him running to the back. I will say this is one of the simplest and childish Undertaker feuds I've ever seen, but if I was watching during this time as a kid, I'd be intrigued to see this match at the pay-per-view. I know I'm cutting it some slack, but we gotta go with the time. Once we get to the Attitude Era, childish feuds like this won't get a pass from me, but for right now, I don't really mind it. Moving on, Diesel gets a win over a jobber. Shawn Michaels came out with him and once again wore the Intercontinental Championship, but he isn't the real champion. The next match is Randy Savage versus IRS. By the way, Crush has been at ringside on commentary the whole night, so Savage, of course, stares him down before the match. The match was what it was for the first couple of minutes, nothing really to mention. Macho Man does go after Crush at the table, but IRS stops him and tosses him into the ring post. Savage reverses a top rope move and goes for his elbow drop, but Crush comes in and pushes him off for the DQ. IRS and Crush double team him, and Tatanka tries to come out for the save, but gets a right hand for his trouble. I feel like Tatanka is always the one who comes out to save anybody. I remember him coming out when Yokosuna was attacking Crush, and Tatanka was the one who came out for that save, and here he is again. So then Yokosuna also comes out, and this turns into a 2-on-3 brawl, and Lex Luger follows it to make it even. Finally, Diesel, HBK, and Bret Hart also run out to get some licks in for themselves as Raw goes off the air with all the guys fighting in the ring, and that's how the show ends, so let's get to the awards. For the best moment, I had the Undertaker and Yokozuna segment. I already said why I enjoyed it. Childish somewhat, but it added to the match for the Rumble. For the worst moment, I did notice that they never showed us what happened in the Tag Team Championship rematch from Madison Square Garden. Maybe I skipped over it. I don't think I did, so if they didn't show it, that's the worst moment because we don't know if Bret and Owen will get the title match at the Royal Rumble. For the worst match, I had Tatanka versus the Jobber. For the best match, the only real match to choose from was IRS and Randy Savage, but even so, I'm not going to pick it because it was such a slow-paced match and it resulted in a DQ finish. So yeah, nothing for best match on this night. For the weakest performer, I could say Tatanka because he doesn't have his storyline going on right now, but he came out for the end brawl and he's in the Rumble, so literally everyone but the Jobbers had a reason to be on this show, and I don't really mind anyone's gimmick, so nobody's going to pick up this award this week. Everybody gets spared from the weakest performer. For the stand-up performer, again, nobody really stood out for this one. Everyone was at the level that we expect of them. This episode will get a good grade from me. The Taker and Yokozuna segment in the middle kept it entertaining, and the way they ended it with everyone just fighting before the Rumble was a decent send-off before the pay-per-view. They hadn't done this years and years before, so for 1994, this was a good go-home shot to end Monday Night Raw. I'm going to watch the Rumble, but I'm not going to do a review on it, just to know what happened and to see where some of these feuds go, like the Hart brothers if they get their title shot, and just breaking the fourth wall here. I do know what happens. The pay-per-views from the early 90s, I kind of do know what goes on, and I do remember Brett and Owen being at the Royal Rumble in a match. But I'm guessing if you guys, I would say spoiler alert, but I'm guessing if you are watching this review, that means you're also in the know of what's going on. So yeah, just go ahead and watch the Rumble. It'll be a good one. I want to see what happens if they advance anything with the Intercontinental Championship storyline. If Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels get involved with each other, if they're in the Rumble at the same time. Also, if Savage and Crush are in the Rumble at the same time, what happens there? And a match that I didn't think I was going to care for, but at the end of it, I was kind of intrigued into seeing it from the build on Raw, and that was the Undertaker and Yokosuna match. So, with all that being said, I'm out. I'll catch you guys on the next one after the Royal Rumble.